On the DC Multiverse Batman Origins Arkham. Oh, Arkham Origins. I fucked that one up. Alright, what's up family? It's your boy Nella. Welcome back to another TBG Trial by Gaming review, and on today's feature I'm going to be breaking down the new Rough Riders Punisher from the Marvel Legends line. Now, if you've seen this guy in stores, you'll know this is the one that comes with the nice big chopper on the side. I think it's a wonderful looking package just from the outside, and if you haven't had an opportunity to pick them up yet, this might be the one for you. Now, I know we've gotten a couple of Punishers in the line before and Punishers from other lines as well, but I think this is definitely one of the better ones in the way that it comes equipped as a whole. Now, he does come with new technology that Hasbro is just putting out, and that kind of, I think, elevates the figure a lot. But let me go ahead and break it out for you, show you it, and see if it's really something that you really want to jump back out and try to buy. Because if you know that it's basically sold out everywhere you go. Probably not getting a second release anytime soon, and if we do get a repackage, it'll probably be a year down the line. So if you're looking for it now, I definitely suggest picking it up, but let me go ahead and show you guys. Alright, so here is the badass himself. So as you can tell, beautiful box artwork. We get a nice posed up photo of the actual figure itself rather than, let's say, just random artwork that they might have made first. That's the actual figure itself. As you can tell, pretty good looking, and I'm not sure if you can tell the technology that they've implemented, and I'll go ahead and break it down for you once I bust out the actual package itself, the figure itself. But let me try to get it without the light. So as you can tell right there, we see basically promotional images of all the things he comes with: the handlebars, the motorcycle, the different helmets, the machete that he's wielding, the bat that he's got held up in this top corner. Pretty badass looking. Basically a little bit of a bio right there for him. And then on the side we get actual, I don't want to say this is comic art, but definitely something that might have been made specifically for this figure. Now, as for the figure itself, as you can tell, pretty nicely laid out. Now, the motorcycle comes in two different pieces, the handlebars separately. Makes sense, it would probably make the package too thick. And then, as we can tell, bat, machete, two heads, and basically the difference between both heads is one is damaged, and then an array of guns, because it wouldn't be the Punisher if it didn't come with a bunch of guns. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bust this bad boy out for you guys so that you guys can go ahead and see if this is something that you want to run back out to the stores and pick up. Alright guys, so here he is, still in the bubble but outside of the box, and I wanted to give you guys a quick overview on this figure, on this figure's background, the lore. Now, I don't know the lore specifically on this getup that we see right here. I've been told that it's a different series from the regular canon, but basically the Punisher, his storyline is that his family was murdered in front of him, and he decided to enact vengeance on the people that did so by punishing them brutally, hence the name Punisher. Now, if you want to be able to see an actual live action adaptation on Netflix, I believe The Punisher Season 1 and Season 2 is still up, and if you haven't had an opportunity to watch that series, watch it. You're going to have major respect for this figure and this character as a whole once you've had an opportunity to watch that. And obviously, if you're interested in the graphic novels, there's plenty out there at your local comics and Barnes & Nobles and such things as that, where you can buy what you want to read up on this guy. Now, without further ado, the figure. Alright, you guys, and here he is outside of the box. This is a badass looking figure. He has incredible presence, not just inside the box, but once you put him out, he looks great. He looks menacing, he looks buff like he should. He looks like he can do some real damage, and I like how Hasbro is able to capture this on a figure that I want to say, for the most part, is not a reuse. Now, that's not to say he's perfect, but at least visually speaking, he has a lot of box appeal. And I think that that's something that's very important to capture. So let me go ahead and give you a breakdown of the actual figure. All right, so here we have a close-up of Frank Castle himself. If I didn't mention it before, the Punisher's actual street name, legal name, his government is Frank Castle. So here we have some pretty nice paint apps overall. Hold on, let me make sure it's not an issue. So here we have the face, chest, pelvis, thighs, knees, boots. Same thing on the way back up. But the other side, look at that beefy boy. This dude is muscular as he should be. Now, in terms of paint application, he came out pretty solid all the way through. So if you look at his face, you'll see that he basically looks, I don't want to say like he's sleepy. That's not what it really captured. He's supposed to be having healing black eyes because if you know the Punisher, you know he's getting beat up all the time. Now, he's dishing out way more than he's getting, but one of this guy's superpowers is how much damage he can take and continue to go. I mean, he's not even fully healed up, and yet here he is, right? And so that's something that's really cool that they were able to capture in his character. Now, that Widow's Peak is insane, but I think it looks pretty good overall. Now, in terms of the paint applications all the way down, the skull came out really nice. All the black that you see, I want to say, is basically just part of the sculpt. It wasn't really necessarily painted on. Doesn't really look like there's any real dry brushing, but it doesn't look bad either. I don't know if you can see, but he's got more of a plain black kind of smoothness to the shirt, and then when you get down to the jeans, it has more of that denim look, and I'm glad that they were able to capture that. For the most part, it looks pretty good all the way through, but like I said, not a lot in terms of paint everywhere else. It's really more just the way that the actual plastic itself comes sculpted. Same thing with the flesh tones. For the most part, I want to say this is how it was most likely. It's actually a little bit more tan on the actual figure than my camera is picking it up on. But for the most part, it looks really good. Really nice fleshy tones. It actually picks it up a lot better here for the straps in the back. You see how this is more of like a leather kind of material. And then right here, it's more of a smooth surface, but overall really nice. The hair was also painted obviously very nicely. So for the most part, I think this guy, a little bit of see-through on the flesh tone right there, but not a problem. Same with the gloves, different texture from everything else, but other than that, pretty good. Now, before I knock out articulation, let me go ahead and show you guys each and every individual accessory. So for the first one, we have a pretty nice Uzi. Basically just all black plastic in the same black plastic that it was most likely molded. No paint details on it, but to be honest, you don't really need it. You can tell what it is. It looks pretty nice. Got the long clip, as you can tell. It's really nice, and he holds it really well, which you'll see in a few seconds. Then we have right here what looks like I want to say there's like a Mac 10, Mac 11. It's a pretty dope ass gun, and what's really cool is that from what I understand, both of these guns are really illegal in most states. So obviously it's cool that they're not giving him street legal guns. They're giving him, you know, illegal stuff for him to be playing around with. So pretty dope overall. But again, it's just another black molded plastic weapon, but it looks pretty good, pretty authentic. Now, what would Punisher be without a sawed-off 12 gauge? Because, of course, how are you going to enact the most damage you can if you don't have one of these? And this one actually comes a bit more nicer looking. We have the black plastic with the brown paintwork on it, and the paintwork came out pretty nice overall. It's good looking and, again, fits in his hands like a glove. Pretty nice overall. Now, just in case the 12 gauge wasn't enough to make you believe he's really trying to punish people, he comes with a machete. Silver, I want to say the plastic actually is this brown handled piece right here with the actual blade being what's painted. But it all looks really clean, pretty nice. Again, fits his hands really well, and we'll see that in a sec. Now, the helmet piece is pretty nice. It fits perfectly on both of the heads, and you can line it up on the eyes really nice. And I'll go ahead and put it on him in a sec. But for the most part, the silver came out really nice, kind of this almost metallic-like shimmer to it. And then the horns itself, the way that they're painted, it's picking up really nicely, but it almost looks like it's got a really nice finish on the horns, almost like a wood vinyl finish. It looks very nice. It actually, I think it's picking it up better on here on the camera than it actually is on the piece itself, but it looks good nonetheless. Now, obviously, the big accessory here is the chopper that he comes with. It's beautiful. Could it use maybe a little bit more paint in certain places where it wouldn't be matte? Yes. But for the most part, beautiful, beautiful looking figure. I'm glad that it came with this. You don't have to go out and try to buy an aftermarket one, but it's really nice. Paint work looks pretty good where there is paint. On the front, you see how it's translucent like that? It's pretty cool. It actually has like a plastic piece over it on the front. A little bit of red paint applications on what's supposed to be his, I would assume, his hazard lights. And then we have on the back, I don't know if you can tell right there, Punisher 616. Maybe it's from the area code. Southside. Oh, okay, then New York City right there. It's a little hard to tell. I don't know what's coming out so blurry. But yes, pretty nice. Dual exhaust. Now, the exhaust itself did come out this shinier plastic that I kind of wish would have gone a little bit on the engine, because usually this kind of stuff isn't matte. Even when it is black, it's usually more like a black chrome. Nothing that you couldn't obviously customize later. And then obviously the kickstand on the bottom, which kicks up pretty well once you get it where you're supposed to get it. And then for the most part, in terms of articulation, it just goes left and right at the top, just like anything would. And then on the tachometer, there is the, let me see if I can get it. There you go. The Punisher logo, which is pretty badass. If you ever try to steal this one the way they did John Wick, you know you messed up if you see that. All right. All right, you guys. Now for articulation, it's actually really nice. Now when it comes to his posability, just on a neutral pose, which is one of the things that you'd be surprised how many figures don't get right, the Punisher looks great. He has a wonderful just up, down, neutral, at attention pose. Definitely looks like he was in the military. Ripped guy, and sometimes these thicker figures kind of have a hard time having their arms at attention, just at the sides, and sometimes they always look like they're kind of flexing, but he really just looks like he's there standing waiting to rip somebody's head off, and I think that that's really nice. So articulation is as follows. So you can look up about that far, down about that far, full 360. You're never going to need more than that. Shoulder can go up about that far, just shy of 90, and then obviously you can make the arm go full 360. Elbow is double jointed, and it gets him way past 90 degrees. You won't need anything more than that. And his hand is a trigger finger, obviously. Can do the full 360. And does it hinge? It does kind of hinge up, down, the way pistol users would, and obviously it's the way it should be, but mine is a little on the stiff side, and there's not really a lot of breathing room to make him go up or down further than what you really see. Now for the torso, it gets pretty good. He can move forward about that much, which is decent enough. Could a little bit more be useful? Yes, but I don't think you're going to need really much more than that. And then backwards, let me go ahead and put them up. Backwards, yeah, again, I think you're not going to need much more than that. Maybe a little more forward, but backwards, he definitely hits it where you need it to. Now, in terms of the waist, yeah, he does do the full back breaker, spine breaker, 360 all the way around. Hips go out about as far as you really needed for this figure. Thigh does have a swivel at the top, can do the full 360. And then double at the knees, which allows him to just comes shy of punishing his own ass. And for the boots, you do get about that much down. Pretty good up. I don't think you need more than that. And then you do get a ankle pivot. And again, you get about, you get everything you need, at least in that sense. All right, guys, well, I do have your attention on articulation. Let me go ahead and bring up the new technology that Hasbro has implemented on this figure. Pegless design on the arms. As you can tell, it's a double jointed elbow, and neither on the bottom side or the top side is there a peg. And if you look on the inside, same thing. And the same design over here on the other arm, of course. Now, I'm not quite sure how they choose where this technology is going to be placed on, because if you look at his legs, you'll notice that he still has the peg holes. So even though they implemented it up here, they didn't necessarily do it down at the legs. Now, the benefit of at least doing it on his arms is that ultimately it looks like a much more expensive figure than it really is. It's really nice that they applied it on the flesh tones, because it just doesn't break the sculpt. And it makes it look way cleaner, and again, just makes it look like a class above what is really, based around and what its competition is in terms of its price point. I'm really happy that Hasbro did this, but I don't understand one thing. So as you can tell, he has a harness, goes with the whole bike rider motif. But as you noticed, no butterfly joint. And I have to admit, for me, that kind of brings it down a notch for me. I definitely think that the pegless design definitely makes him look more badass, makes him look more cool, but I am not sold on this figure specifically because of the butterfly joint. This guy is supposed to be able to hold, let's say, an AR-15 in his hands, but you're not going to be able to get it as good as you want to because he doesn't have that butterfly joint. And now I understand that maybe this might get in the way, but watch, when I bring him up, I can't really get him to cross his arms much at all. So while we got this updated pegless design on the arms, I'm not quite sold on his ability. I mean, he's supposed to be ex-military, but I feel like I can't get him into a lot of those poses simply because he doesn't have that joint that a lot of the new Hasbro stuff does. So I don't know if that was a concession for being able to put the money towards the pegless design, but I do feel it was a missed opportunity for Hasbro to not give him that extra level of articulation that would have really sealed the deal for me when it comes to this figure. All right, you guys, so here he is on the chopper with the helmet on and the Mac 11 in his hand, and he looks great. This is a badass looking figure. I know what I said about the butterfly joint kind of being an issue, and to be honest, even right now it kind of is. You can't really bring his arm across as well as you wanted to, but as you can tell, it still looks good. He holds on to everything really well. And to be honest, in most of the poses that you're probably going to put him in, it might not even be noticeable at all that he's missing that. So there he is with the Mac 11. Let me put something else in his hand. There he is holding the bat. Now, something I didn't mention before is if you take a look right there, his left hand is actually on a hinge for like normal weapons, right? Up and down, up and down. Or I guess you would say side to side. So while this one on the right hand has this motion, the left one over here has that motion. All right, now the moment you're probably been waiting for, a couple of size comparisons. Let me see what I have for you guys. All right, guys, so here we have him next to the McFarlane Azrael and Batman armor. And now we have him here next to the Hamaru from the Storm Collectibles. As you can tell, they're both noticeably bigger than him. Actually, when I chose these guys, I didn't expect them to be this big, but they're both armored and they're both on a different scale. So for the most part, this does look pretty good. Probably more so on the Hamaru side, even though that's a big boy too. Now we're going to put him next to the new Revoltech All Might. And there we have the Super 7 Lion-O. Now, between everything we've seen so far, maybe the Lion-O is honestly the one that matches up the best. Though All Might is supposed to be a pretty giant dude, so that might also work as well for you. And last but not least, we have the new Commander Pyre from the Black series from Star Wars. And then Beachhead from the new G.I. Joe Classics line. Now, as you can tell with everything that's on there, while he is smaller than a lot of the larger figures, when it comes to the more regular 6-inch scale, he is bigger. I'm not going to say that he's super large, but as you can tell compared to the other figures, he looks best here. Here I can tell he's a really buff dude from a line of figures that more or less is the size, though I would say the Black Series might even still be on the smaller side as well. And to be honest, now that I think about it, they usually are a bit tinier. All right, guys, so ultimately, visually speaking, I think this guy is going to have a lot of shelf presence. If you guys go ahead and pick him up, I think that it's something that you will most likely love to see on your shelf, something that's always going to pop out, that your friends are always going to walk up and go, damn, who's that? And once they see the skull, game over, they know who it is. He has a lot of options to choose from: helmeted, unhelmeted, bruised, not bruised, and a different assortment of guns that you can put. As you can tell here, I have him dual wielding, but you can put the machete, the bat, the shotty, put them in any kind of pose, and it's really just a dynamic piece that for the price point of about $40, depending on where you're at, plus tax, is a pretty good steal. But with that said, again, my only two gripes were just that the pegless design was only used on the arms and not on the legs too. Again, I don't understand how Hasbro is choosing where to put it, but I'm glad that if it was limited, that they used it in the right place, which was the arms. And then obviously the butterfly joint, which I feel, again, kind of detracts overall from the aesthetic of the figure itself, because I kind of wish that they would have given us the butterfly joints. But even without it, as you can tell, very dynamic. There's only going to be a few places where you're going to notice it, and even then you can probably still finesse most of what you're trying to get out of the figure even without it. So that'll be up to you to make the decision, but I hope that this video was informative. It made you feel whatever it is you needed to feel or get out of, so you can go ahead and pick up this figure or pass on it. I think either way you're not going to be disappointed with your decision to get it, and if you pass up on it, then obviously you know why. All right, guys, I appreciate you tuning in, and until the next time. All right, so if you guys like today's feature, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, share. Please let me know what it is that you guys thought in the comment section, and I will have all my links in the description so that you guys can follow me anywhere which I'm posting content. I'm also going to have a link to my Patreon, so if you guys do decide you want to be a part of the TBG family and help me grow as I'm trying to give you guys more content, I would really appreciate it. I have a little bit of a roadmap set up of what I want to bring you guys, including Star Wars news, things on The Mandalorian, The Witcher, Netflix, you know, Microsoft, Sony, Xbox, PlayStation, anything that has to do with pop culture, animes, and mangas. I want to be able to bring you guys some kind of content on it, and any help that you guys are able to provide with, like I said, liking my stuff, commenting on it, sharing it, just giving me a little bit of traffic through my content, I would appreciate all of it. So until the next time, I will see you guys on the next TBG Trial by Gaming feature. Deuces.